Happy Last of Us Monday. Tyler, how are you? Good morning.
Doing great, man. Feeling refreshed.
A
Second wind.
little power nap there?
Yeah, a little power
Oh,
nap.
not a boy. Yeah, so I was mistakenly under the impression that
By
tonight
me?
was going to be the finale of The Last of Us. And as soon as I watched the episode last night, I thought to myself, there is absolutely no way that is the finale. So apparently there is one more, correct?
I think there's a ninth. It's an odd number. It's not as 10.
Yeah.
But I will say though, I thought it could have worked as a finale last night.
Yeah, think so?
Well, I don't know. Like, do you have to have a cliffhanger? Because I guess
guess
there wasn't a cliffhanger. It was just kind
there
of
was
you
no
just didn't know
cliffhanger,
what
and
was.
there really wasn't a completion of a story. Like there was an
Sure,
incident, which
yeah,
obviously we'll talk about,
yeah, you
but
didn't know what was next. It was just like we just got out of there and that was it. I guess. Yeah.
yeah, normally like they're heading in some, the characters are heading in a direction, right?
Yeah.
So, without further ado, what would an HBO show be without a newly formed preacher who's actually a cult leader who has a violent past and has some sick hidden tendencies? I mean, right away
Multitude.
they got this ginger in there, and you knew exactly where that was going. Exactly. Yeah. What were your thoughts on the introduction of the new community? Did you put it together that it was part of the raiding party?
So I thought, could this be related to it? A little bit, but I wasn't, 100% convinced where it was going to go. But, there's a scene where our new villain, I don't even know what his name was. We won't be seeing him again, but he's sitting down with Ellie and he's talking about where is it?
It's just when they're at the fire.
Everything happens for a reason speech.
Yes.
And then he drops in. Then he says, someone from our village went missing, a madman murdered. And the second he said that, I was like, oh, snap. Like, they got her. Like,
here we go.
They've been looking for her actively.
Yep.
Yeah. So I thought that was a cool moment. I thought the guy who portrayed said villain did a really good job of being super creepy.
Yeah. Even obviously the girl wants to bury her dad, and he backhands this kid. And the first time I kind of had a weird thought about him was when he says that she'll always have like a dad.
Yeah.
Always have him. Like, this guy is a legit cult leader.
Oh yeah. And then when you find out like the way he talks to Ellie later on, like the whole thing, you'll always have a dad kind of plays in more. And then, the whole I want my dad's body and he says we can't bury him was technically the first clue as to what was going on there. And like it was that clue would have been harder to get what they were doing with the bodies, right?
Oh, but I was today years old. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That makes perfect sense.
And then the one where I knew what was up was when the women are preparing the stew or whatever, and the guy slaps down all the cut up meat, and she just kind of like death stares at him. And he says, "It's venison."
Venison.
When she said that, I was like, okay, something is really messed up with these people. I'm like, could it be what they're doing? And then then it went obviously all downhill from there. But I thought they did. I know we haven't really touched on what happens, but I thought they did a really good job in this episode, actually kind of like the transition, right? Kind of showcasing this community as kind of good and Joel as bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like
big time.
We'll get into Joel, but yeah, I thought Joel's progression was pretty cool too. Unlike how he might still kind of be bad a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, where do you want to go with it?
Yeah,
I could meander all over the place.
Just to quickly touch on the execution of that character, they did such a good job with the creepy pastor.
Yeah.
Character was portrayed really, 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 really well. The whole cannibal thing, before we move on, like, and I realize it's going to sound terrible, but like, if you're faced at the end of the world as an apocalypse and you're running out of food, you have to think that a percentage of human beings have to consider this. If somebody dies, I'm not saying kill them, but if somebody dies, like,
Yeah, it's
apocalypses happen. Like,
yeah.
it's either like nobody is going to eat. Period.
Yeah. And I actually agree with you in a weird way, just because
In
you
a
know,
sick, sadistic sort of way.
normally cannibalism and stuff like that would be like grotesque or gross, whatever. But in this world scenario, it didn't
Yeah.
bother me at all, just because okay, they've set the basis right from the get-go. Like, rations will last a week. Like, if you're
Yeah.
that desperate and you're supporting that amount of people, like, you got to do what you got to do. And if that's the only thing that's there, like, I couldn't do it, but I understand how that would be the plot, or why something would do that. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
did you watch Alive back in the day? Is that what it was called?
I
Alive, the
did
plane
not
crash
see
movie?
Alive.
Like,
No.
I watched that as a kid, and that was like my first, like, you got to do what you got to do to survive sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. So, I mean, there's so many places we could go from here. What do you want to touch on next? I'm going to put the ball in your court and let's swap it up. Where do you want to go from here?
So, well, let's talk about. I thought the standout in this episode was obviously Ellie, Bella Ramsey.
Oh.
So, let's talk about her.
All right, she. There's obviously at the end of the episode beforehand. There's that, you should leave. You should leave, and she makes the hard decision to stay and not abandon Joel. Obviously, after we saw her story beforehand, trading for the medicine. Like, it's like she grew up.
And you could literally see
12 hours.
like Joel's teaching as well, right? The hunting, like, which we've seen here, trying to teach her how to shoot the rifle. You know what I mean? Like, she goes out hunting, gets the deer. She's very aware of people bad, like, tries to stay away from them. Don't give them any information. Like,
big change from the beginning.
Yeah, she played all those situations very smartly, I would say.
Yeah.
And then I just love that Joel, wake up. And then just gives him the knife. Kill him if they come down here. I'll draw him away. And Joel's just like,
oh, his scene where the guy comes down looking for him.
Yeah.
Like, you can just see him laboring. But yeah, no, I mean, she went through a lot in this episode when she was downstairs in the meat locker and saw the ears and saw what was going on.
Yeah.
She's absolutely savage. And then the creepy pastor, he says something at the end that's just so gross. Like, the future we could build. And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, it's weird. He got very, like, kind of sexual with her in the cage. But, like, she, like, again, she smartly used it against him to try to draw him in closer. I thought she was going to reach out, grab his, like, shirt or something like that and try to smash his head against the side of the cage, but she tried to grab the key or whatever, and he ends up smashing her head. The other thing I loved was the whole, when she bites him and they're about to kill her and she's like, I'm infected.
Yeah.
Knowing, like, and then I was waiting for the number 2 to be like turning on the pastor
and nailing him,
and start, like, a little, like, civil war going on, like the thing, like, that they have a big infection going on, but it didn't go that way. But I loved her using her secret, right? Like, she's kept that secret as a plot device to escape. Like, I just thought it's, like, great writing.
Yeah.
From what I heard, it's like this episode is pretty much like lock and step with the video game. Like, some scenes were 100% exact, with the exception of, I think there was supposed to be a lot of some infected parts, but they just kind of cut all the infected characters out.
I love the fact that in something like this, you can cut out the infected part and it doesn't take away from the show about infected zombies.
No. And with me not playing the game, like, I thought what we got was, like, very, very captivating.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, she
And
definitely
I
on a
was,
different level. That's a
and
really good call out for how
yeah.
she's grown as a character,
And
right?
a final note on her, like when she
Mhm.
finally gets out, like she's like afraid, like she has gone through trauma. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah.
her portrayal at the end was like someone who was like, like yeah, like
She's
just
been
came out of
through
the
it.
most fucked up situation, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then
Did you
a
hear what
very
Joel calls her at the end?
yeah, well,
Refers to her
very
the same way he did his daughter.
yeah, exactly. It was a
Yeah.
very touching moment of Joel to just calm her down immediately.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now Joel the Relentless.
Oh, what a savage.
I get the first one he was defending himself.
I know, but the next two were
The
just
other two were Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
And that's why I alluded to, Joel might not necessarily actually really be like I know he's the protagonist, but like
Mhm.
he still does some like
But
shit.
the question is why?
Yeah. Like, yeah, was he like
What's the difference now compared to the fact we haven't seen it so far in the series? And the
yeah,
answer is Ellie.
yeah,
So you can see him trying to be a better person, especially with her at the beginning of the series. He's very cognizant of leaving who he was behind.
yeah. I think we
And
saw
then
a
they take
reversion,
Ellie,
right? Like a
and all
reversion
of the
back.
bets are
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Like complete 180. Like he takes Ellie, the young lady he's a guardian, pretty much a guardian for now,
Yeah.
and there are no rules. Like what he did to those two in that house is absolute pure emotion.
Yeah. I love it. He already told her, or what? I can't remember what he says. He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
don't worry, I believed him," or
I
something like
believe.
that, as he beats his head in.
Yeah,
Yeah, like yeah, and like with the way that people are, he does not know that those people just won't turn around and try to kill him or
of
whatever, right?
course.
Like it's
And they would.
basically,
Let's be
yeah,
honest.
it's
They
kill or
absolutely
be killed.
would. Yep.
Yeah. And like you don't want to say that whole community is tainted by just the preacher, but like those guys were really quick wanting to kill Ellie and chop her up and feed her to
Oh yeah.
everyone. Like they were like, and even the little girl, kill her. Remember before he slaps her?
Yep.
So yeah, these people weren't the very most welcoming, and again, their perception of them changed real fast as the episode went on. So
That's because they're a cult and they've been eating people. So
yeah,
there's that. Yeah, I mean those are really the two, or sorry, the three big things I wanted to touch on, right? So
yeah,
the villain, Ellie, and Joel, it ends off with them going. So where do they go from here? Where are they going to? Are they going back to Tommy? Are
yeah,
they gonna move? Are they gonna continue to move north to try and find? Because remember, when they went to the abandoned city,
yeah.
it looked like they went north. So what do you think? Because we haven't played the video game, so we don't know. Are they going back to Tommy or are they going north?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I find they're down a horse. I'm imagine they're down some supplies now that their trip didn't work out. So
Yeah, he's running at like
yeah,
30% if he's lucky.
yeah.
Good SketchUp job, though.
I feel like Tommy's. I don't know. Like I have no idea if he's a big character. You know what I mean? Like I feel like to Joel, he's a big enough character. You'd have to see him more than like once, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
But he's on his quest, and I think there's an overall good of stopping the the infected virus, whatever you want to call it, the cordyceps. So
Yep.
I think there's a need to do that as well. So
You think they're going
um,
north? You think they're trying to find
yeah,
Pedro?
I think they're going to keep continuing on.
Yeah, I think I agree. I don't think they're
Yeah.
going back for Tommy. I think we'll see Tommy, but not until season 2 if it exists.
Unless, yeah, like unless Joel's super messed up and he needs to be in on bed rest for whatever, but like
Mhm.
he looked like that at the beginning of the episode, but the way he moved through all those people, I think he could get over it pretty fast.
That's a good point, though. If he is still pretty injured,
Yeah,
making that run backwards might be a good idea for him to
I
rest
would
and
imagine a
recuperate.
doctor would tell him to do that, but there's not a lot of those around in their current predicament.
No, no, he could have borrowed one from Kansas City, but the girl killed him.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's really all I had. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to touch on. It was really just the three main points, and then where are we going from there?
Yeah, like I guess the one thing I'd say, I just because I had a note on it, it doesn't really bother me now, but in the when I was watching it was when they shoot Ellie's horse, how that guy got so far ahead of her when she was sprinting on a horse. I was just like, I guess for plot wise, they got to.
Yeah,
It would have been better if it was like a long range shot, but he like totally flanked her.
yeah.
And then like again, like Joel goes from like can't
On death's
move
bed.
to getting up and just going to town on guys. I don't know. Maybe that's the adrenaline of him realizing that shit was about to go down.
Yeah, the fact that he could
But
drag two bodies was weird.
yeah, but it was very, I don't know. It was kind of like a John Wick type moment, right? Like he was just like, you know, shot my horse. They got my girl. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I have a particular set of skills of survival and brutality, and I'm just gonna, go to town.
Did you just John Wick and Taken all of that?
I
in
just
one?
taken it as
Yeah,
well.
100% you did. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I guess the last thing too is I guess to again to touch on Ellie, like she like the final kill went all raged out.
Oh, yes. Thank you for
Were
bringing that out.
were
Sorry,
you
I totally
surprised?
missed that.
Yeah. Were you surprised there wasn't a, gratuitous gore shot at the end? Like, how HBO, like if it was Game of Thrones, they would have panned out showing the guy like in
I'm
pieces
glad there
quivering.
wasn't. That is for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I
Considering
think,
it was Ellie the one doing it, I thought it was, I don't know. I just felt it was done properly, so to speak.
and I think from an artistic and cinematic
Yeah.
standpoint, it wasn't about him. It
True.
was about Ellie.
Yeah.
Like the focus, I genuinely think you would have lost some of the moment by panning out to the victim.
Yeah.
Like this is a huge, huge moment for her. She's only had to kill once before.
Yeah.
Sorry, with Joel, but this is on a very, very, very different level. Like that guy is really dead when she's stabbing him. Like he very much got to her.
Yeah.
But the whole scene of setting fire to the restaurant, it looks like she literally was almost trying to do it.
Yeah.
Like she
She
wasn't
just
trying
threw
to
a log
throw,
of
like she
a
can't
flaming log
throw
at
a
him.
pointed dagger at him. Like
Yeah.
so, it was by design. I thought she moved really well through the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other tidbit I heard, again, I haven't confirmed myself, I just heard someone else talking about it, is that the guy, the cannibal, the preacher's number 2 is the guy who voices Joel in the game.
Oh, that's kind of cool. He has a butcher's knife in his neck and he's dead, but that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
And it's funny, they all have a tendency to do that. Did you ever see Uncharted?
Yes. Yeah.
So when they crawl out of the ocean and they walk past the guy and he makes a comment to him, he's like, "Yeah, I understand. That's the guy who voices Drake."
Nathan Drake, yeah.
Yeah, through all the video games. So
Yeah.
I like that they do that.
Yeah, it's a nice little hat tip being like, I know we got our boy Pedro Pascal to star in this, but we still appreciate your service.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. I guess next Monday will be episode 9. And this Wednesday coming up, we are on the channel of the Rogue Leader, of course, for the double header. Not so crappy Bad Batch and the Mando.
Yeah, I'm so excited for Mando.
Yeah, Mando's going to be amazing.
Do you want to score this episode we just watched?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was wondering. I forgot that. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I was sensing you were.
I was totally missing it 100%.
Shutting the drapes.
I was literally about to shut it down. This to me is a very solid 8.7.
Ooh. We're gonna be different for the first time in a while.
Yeah, this to me is a good solid 8.7. It had incredible action. It had a coming of age of Ellie. it didn't hit me in any of all the emotions, so it didn't go over 9 for me. But it was an amazing episode. I feel like I'm almost getting desensitized to how good this is.
I was feeling the desensitization, the last few weeks, but this
Yeah.
week 9.5 for me. This was,
Ooh.
and it wasn't necessarily the emotion. I felt the emotion on the last scene of
Yeah.
the reunited. It was nice, but I felt like the rage emotion. You know
Yeah,
what I
you
mean?
know what?
Like which we haven't really had in the other episodes. Like I was full on board for this
Yeah,
revenge
you know
flick
what?
and kicking ass.
I'm instantly switching to 9.
Yeah, like it
Instantly
was.
switching to 9.
Yeah,
You're right. That was
and
raw rage.
yeah, and the pacing was great. I thought the
Yeah.
tension was awesome. The villain was great.
Mhm.
Ellie's performance again, standout episode for her, and then
100%.
Joel's just cold blood. I was waiting for him to like go like work his way through the town as well, but I think at the end it was a good decision to keep that battle as Ellie's
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
not
for
have
sure.
him come in and have her be the one to take out the two guys. So no, I thought it was a great episode. I thought, again, I appreciated the plot devices, the whole infected bit, the
Mhm.
working up on everything happens for a reason, with the linking it back to the bandits.
Mhm.
I just thought, and then, creating sympathy for them early on and then slowly pulling back that curtain at this is not a good community and let Joel and Ellie go to work sort of thing.
Yeah.
No, loved it.
No, for
Loved it.
sure. All right. Well, I am pumped for Wednesday, pumped for Mando. So until next week, unless you join us on the Rogue Leaders channel, we
Please do.
shall see you on Monday, but hopefully in 2 days.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Peace out, everyone.